Let's take a look at automatically creating panoramics using Photo Merge. This is a feature that has been built into Photoshop for years, and rarely can a still image capture the expanse of a place. So if I click on this first shot, you'll see all I did when I took these without a tripod was I attempted to mark visual pointers in the photo. Here the Golden Gate Bridge begins. Here's that same portion, and I'm simply just turning right and leaving a little overlap in each shot. I will shift-click to select all four, and from Adobe Bridge, which you launch through File, Browse in Bridge in Photoshop, I'll choose Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge to build one seamless panoramic. I'll move this up so you could see it, and usually Auto is the best setting. I'll click OK. Now there were two checkboxes there that I didn't explain, but I'll show when we're finished how you could use them. Photoshop will create an overlap of each shot, scale it, and blend it, and color correct so it looks like every shot is perfectly aligned. As the camera moves, the light will change in the image. So Photoshop will compensate for that and color balance. And I love this. If I hit Shift and click on the layer mask, I could see the original seam where these two blended. I'll zoom in with Command plus or Control plus so you could see that. Shift click again, and I've turned back on the mask. Shift clicking is disabling it. Shift click first shot, shift click the blend. I'll crop this down when I'm finished, but for now, let's jump back to Adobe Bridge. And in Bridge, let's try a different series. Here, I actually just loved the morning light that was caught. I think I took this around 7:30 a.m. here in San Francisco. And I wanted to use this piece even though it was part of an earlier series. Here is where the wall connects. And I got the bird flying over. And what I'm going to do is this is the left side. Then I panned over to the right a little more, and the farthest right side is not even in order. They don't have to be in order. If I click the first one and shift click the last one and run Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge, Photoshop uses a very complicated algorithm to find the high contrast edges, measure the RGB values, and create a perfect overlap. In early versions of this Photo Merge, it didn't build layer masks for you. But I believe starting in CS4 or CS5, you now have masks, so you could do more advanced blending on your own if you wanted to. You could force it to perspective, or make a cylindrical, which is great for wrapping around surfaces, or do a sphere, or a manual collage, or just reposition. But I always leave it on auto. And when we come to this again, I'll show you vignette removal and geometric distortion correction. But the defaults I'm always happy with, and I'll click OK. So it's comparing each shot again. I've had a student do 64 independent shots of the Grand Canyon into one seamless panoramic. These images can be horizontal or vertical, so you could go in any direction. You just need to make sure in your separate shots that you capture the same object or something that overlaps. So here we could see Photoshop made a gorgeous, I'll zoom in with Command plus or Control plus, seamless panoramic. But let's take a look at the options for it. I'm actually going to close this first one because I can remake it again very easily, and I won't save. And I'll come back to Bridge with Command Tab on the Mac or usually Alt Tab on Windows. And this time when I choose Tools, Photoshop, Photo Merge, I'll turn on the options of vignette removal and geometric distortion correction. And when I click OK and let it run through its process, we will do Window, Arrange, and Tile so we can compare them side by side. In fact, before I tile, I'm also going to press my Tab key. Tab will hide all of your panels so we can focus on just the images. But geometric distortion correction is great when you have 3 or more shots because the images will start to bow towards the edges. This attempts to keep the original proportion of each still shot. So let's press Tab once to hide the panels, and I'll choose Window, Arrange, and 2 up horizontal, since this is a wide shot rather than tall. So if I look at these, you could tell by the number which one's the newest. This was my first shot without the geometric distortion correction or the vignette removal. This was my second from the same source files, merging. I'll zoom in with Command plus or Control plus, and you'll notice even a color shift. This looks a little bit richer, a little bit more orange. So in the original shot, I may not be capturing the full scope of the Palace of Fine Arts here. It looks a little thinner here, where in this shot, it is really giving me the vision of its true width and its true scale or perspective. Ultimately, you as the photographer will decide which shot you like the best and what look you're going for. One last note, with the vignette removal that it did, compared to the original shot, if I come back over to Bridge with Alt-Tab or Command-Tab on the Mac, I actually think it kept a truer version of this richness of this single shot that I was going for with the vignette removal and geometric distortion correction turned on. In fact, if you prefer the landscape to be a bit more flat, you could try this a third time with only vignette removal turned on, but not the geometric distortion correction. So this will be my final shot. I will go to Window, Arrange, and Consolidate All. I will hit Tab to bring my panels back. And the last look I want to give you at this shot is if I zoom in with Control plus or Command plus and scoot over, if I shift click on the mask to hide or show it, you can actually see the ducks at different spots in the image. So shift clicking turns it on and off. It did decide to keep the large bird that I captured here that I really wanted as part of this shot. So from now on, as you travel, whether you have just a camera phone on you or a point and shoot, or you happen to be an outstanding DSLR high-end photographer, keep in mind that you can capture the full, wide, large, I don't know of another word, ginormous scene in front of you more appropriately by taking several independent shots and letting Photoshop overlap them to really convey the expanse of a place that you are viewing. So good luck with building beautiful panoramics.